Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Wesley Hunt seems like he has the antidote to Jasmine Crockett's nonsense, and boy, did he bring the receipts. Let's dive in.
We've heard a lot about the fact that Democrats have been talking about Elon Musk. And let me give you a news alert. We're not gonna stop talking about him. We're gonna keep talking about him until he is out of here. Now, if he wants to be elected or appointed and confirmed to something, then so be it. But as of right now, we don't just say we believe in the Constitution, but we walk it like we talk it. What does that mean? That means that if we believe in the Constitution, we don't just pick out the Second Amendment and say that it is limitless, nor do we pick out the First Amendment and say that it is limitless. The thing about the Constitution is that it has always been a balancing test. There are limits to this. And right now, what we continue to hear from a certain side of the aisle is that there are no limits to this lawlessness. In fact, there are limits. And I can tell you that one of those limits typically is around hate crimes. You may or may not know that when it comes down to it, if somebody decides that they want to send something hateful in, say, the U.S. mail, they can actually go to prison for that, up to 5 years in prison. So yes, there are always going to be limits. So when we start to talk about Trump and him being pulled down on any platform, this just happened to be after he incited an insurrection. This just happened to be after, in a bipartisan way, this particular chamber decided that they were going to impeach him. So there was something a little different about what he did, because as we know, it led to people actually dying.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. In 2020, what you were viewing on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter wasn't an organic news feed. It was a state-approved news feed curated by the Biden-Harris administration. This might sound familiar. This news feed is brought to you by Pfizer. This news feed is brought to you by the Biden-Harris administration. This news feed is brought to you by the big Russia lie. And we know it's true because 51 intelligence officers said it was, right? Wrong. Republicans, conservatives, and America First patriots endured years of gaslighting, censoring, demonetization, suspension, debanking, collusion to deplatform, and every restriction of free speech imaginable, all under the Biden-Harris administration. In the past 7 years, we have witnessed the greatest assault on the First Amendment in American history. But remember, the Democrats are the party of preserving democracy, right? We expected this type of censorship from the Biden-Harris administration, but what we didn't know was how coordinated their efforts were with big tech companies like Meta, Amazon, and Twitter. What I want to talk about today are the groups responsible for this censorship. Now, Twitter has been saved thanks to Elon Musk, but Meta remains in the hands of the very people who worked with the Biden administration to silence our voices. I know that Meta recently changed their policies concerning censorship and free speech, but who's to say that those changes will be permanent? Let's talk about Meta's political content figure, which magically disappeared upon the new Trump administration. Will this political content filter magically reappear if the Democrats take back the White House at some point in the very distant future? Will voices like mine and many of my colleagues in this room be suppressed ahead of the midterms? These are all questions that inquiring minds really want to know. Now, you might have noticed that recently Mark Zuckerberg has been on a press tour to repair his pro-censorship image. But those of us who have been subject to censorship, especially this U.S. congressman, I don't forgive and I don't forget quite so easily. Let's not forget that Meta banned the sitting president of these United States of America from Instagram and Facebook. And interestingly enough, Meta banned President Trump before Biden even took office. So you can't defecate on the president's First Amendment rights and call it chocolate pudding at this point. And just because you give him $1 million ex post facto does not change the fact that you did this and this actually happened. I've seen Democrats on TV for the past week scream, Elon Musk, Musk. It's been quite invigorating, actually. I'm really enjoyed it. And what's funny about it to me is that you're mad at the guy that found the fraud, but not mad at the people that wasted your money. Here in Congress, we clearly can't cut a budget, so I really thank Elon for doing our job for us.
I forget how much I enjoy listening to Wesley Hunt. And not only is he correct, Jasmine Crockett has to sit there and take it. This woman is in her own little world of outrage, insulated from the real world, insulated from her own consequences of her actions, or in this case, inaction. They had the opportunity under the Biden administration to unstrangle Silicon Valley, because this is what was happening back in 2020 during that very odd and egregious election cycle. Silicon Valley was under direct orders from the CIA and the FBI to basically censor their own speech. Since Congress is bound by this little thing called the Constitution and that pesky First Amendment that the Democrats seem like they're constantly trying to get around as often as they possibly can, the CIA and the FBI decided to pay the heads of Silicon Valley a little visit and basically tell them, don't tell stories about, the unspecified virus of unknown origin, and particularly don't talk about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Hey, y'all, here's the deal. Gold loves President Trump. Under Trump's first term, the price of gold soared 53%, and the price of silver jumped 51%. Since the start of the second term, gold has skyrocketed even higher, breaking records and even outperforming stocks. Here's what I like about precious metals like gold and silver. They have been used as a store of value for centuries. Governments can't easily manipulate it. They are used as hedges against market risk and, of course, against inflation. That's why I partnered with the amazing people over at Goldco. Goldco is an award-winning precious metals company. They are fans of this show, and they have helped millions of Americans just like y'all to purchase over $3 billion in gold and silver. Right now, you can get a free copy of their 2025 gold and silver kit. On top of that, you might also qualify for their amazing unlimited silver bonus offer. So don't wait on this. Go to PolitiBrawlGold.com to learn more. That's PolitiBrawlGold.com or call 855-644-GOLD. And lo and behold, that is exactly what ended up happening, and the Democrats let it happen without any inquiries whatsoever until Elon Musk bought Twitter and then dumped something called the Twitter files, which, by the way, a very left-wing journalist, most leftists back in the day used to be libertarian leftists, scared, basically with their pants on fire, worried about the oppressive state that is constantly watching our every move. Quite literally an Orwellian surveillance state. And if you have actually read 1984, it got to the point where the main character, Winston, had to put a piece of lint on his notebook in order to make sure no one was following into his own apartment and then reading his own private personal thoughts. It gets revealed later that yes, they even noticed that little detail and made sure they put it back in its proper place. That's what the surveillance state looked before the internet, before we had cameras absolutely everywhere. And Jasmine Crockett stood by and said nothing. They said nothing. The entire Democrat Party sat there and let it happen because deep down they want this. They want this because they know that they are a part of sort of a new order, so to speak, and what they're really trying to do is make sure that Americans don't break out of their certain little boxes, don't think for themselves, and don't question what's going on with our federal government. Wesley Hunt is out here reminding what that process looked like. After the 2020 election, Donald Trump got kicked off of social media platforms. That didn't work too well for them because Donald Trump just made his own, and that's why he posts there more than anywhere else. Now they have to go to him for the information. Congratulations, Silicon Valley, you played yourselves. But now in 2025, and what I'm about to talk about is a policy that got released in 2024 that Silicon Valley, in order to cover their tracks, in order to try to kiss and make up, they demonetized all political content on Meta. So that means Instagram, Facebook, you weren't going to make any money if you were posting political content. And again, that didn't end too well. And Mark Zuckerberg himself, this is what he had to say about it. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards, once again, prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. Basically, what he's saying is that he's terrified that the Trump administration is going to come in and come after Mark Zuckerberg, when exactly the exact opposite seems to be happening. Instead, it's quite literally a forgiving hand saying, hey, you've made some mistakes, you were under some duress, we're going to give you basically a handshake and a stern warning to not do this again, because if you do, the American people will know it, and your company will suffer because of the incoming boycott that would happen. And I truly believe that is what would end up happening if Mark Zuckerberg ever gets back to these sort of draconian policies where he only listens to the CIA and the FBI and quite literally silencing any sort of information that doesn't fit a certain narrative. This is what free speech is supposed to look like. It is chaotic to some degree. There are rules and designations, and Jasmine Crockett herself is smart enough to understand that principle. What she's not smart enough to understand is that she sat by and let this sort of censorship happen under her watch. It happened under her provision. It happened while the Democrats were in power and in control. And Wesley Hunt is simply reminding her of that fact, and you can tell that Jim Jordan knew what was coming, because remember, congressmen all have their little caucus meetings before everything happens, and you can see the smile on his face when he turned over time to Wesley Hunt. This is political theater, but you know what? I've got some popcorn over here, and I'm enjoying every single word of it. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, because Wesley Hunt brought the receipts to Jasmine Crockett's absolutely terrible little screed here. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.